This was a trade offer that I just could not refuse. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So a viewer of the show has been chatting with me over the past couple of weeks and having me review some guitars for him, but he decided he actually wanted to trade back one of those instruments as well as let me keep one that he never even got to see because he really wanted this quilt top Les Paul Custom. We had documented this one a couple of weeks back. It's from the year 2002, but it's been highly modified and upgraded. Like, we got a new nut on here. We actually have a Tim Shaw PAF in the neck as well as a T-top in the bridge. I just completed my super ultra deep clean on it. And in general, just look at that quilt top. It's fantastic. There was a reason I bought this one to review it on the show, because it's also not just a regular Les Paul Custom. The full 68 reissue specs get you that ABR1 bridge and some of the finer plastics and historic stylings. But as great as this guitar is, I really had to ask him, are you sure this is the trade you want to do? And he said, yes, that is my proposal. That is what I want to do. So let's document this very generous trade from a viewer of the show as we send this new beauty on to him and seeing the two that will be added to my personal collection. I'm just hoping it made it safely back from Mississippi, because this poor thing's been from LA to Ohio to Mississippi and now back to Ohio. But so far it appears to have been packed beautifully. So I don't have too many worries, but I just don't like this style of 70s Gibson case. I mean, it's just your basic one. I much prefer the chainsaws. But let's go ahead and see what I got back. Good old water damage spotlights here. It was funny. When I sent this back to him, I left him a note on the fretboard that, hey, if you ever want to sell this back, I do like this one despite some of its damages, and I'll pay you X amount of money. To which he actually emailed me about that note saying, hey, I got it. Keep me in mind if you find anything super quilty and maybe we can do something. But during those messages, he was telling me how much he just loved these Tim Shaw PAFs in this guitar. And that's why he went out and bought the next guitar that he wanted in his collection, because he had fallen in love with those pickups from this particular one. So I've already done my super cleaning job on this. It's nice to have a guitar that I don't have to do that process with. But this is also the Spotlight that has the refret. It's got new tuners on it, and it's got that slight water damage. But this was Guitar Center inventory for like almost a year. Maybe not quite a year, 8 months, 9 months. But it was funny to find out that I actually bought a few other guitars from Guitar Center from the same guy's collection who traded this all in. But some guys were saying that, hey, maybe a reason why this is water damaged and we don't have the original case might be because, hey, maybe the guitar was in the case and the case was also destroyed. I mean, this is a great case, right? It's just earlier 70s. I was wondering, some guys tell me they keep my notes that I leave in between the strings as case candy, and yep, sure enough, he did it. And yeah, our switch tip was in there, so we're all good. But as a welcome home number 134, I'm going to go ahead and temporarily upgrade it to this Gen 3 chainsaw case I have. It's missing the badge. Maybe I'll find it a different one another day. But I'll go ahead and store him into here. Although I will admit, I think the dark purple looks better with this finish. And generally, I prefer the antique sunburst spotlights to have the brown interiors. But it's nice to stand out proud against the blue. So if you're in need of a case like this, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'll probably just throw it in my case hoard because I'm sure I'll need this at some point too. But this next package, I packed it up right after the review so I would not get attached to this one. And I packed it like crazy. Like, look at this. This is a Guild acoustic sized box, way oversized. I didn't want anything to happen to this. But he proposed this trade before I ever shipped it, so that saved us quite a bit of money there. Inside here, I had then super bubble wrapped it at the top before we got to another inner box that was completely foamed in there. I mean, that puppy wasn't moving. And then inside that box, we had more cushioning before we can finally get the guitar out. If you haven't figured it out yet, that's right. I am now one of the Spotlight reissue owners. As I said, it was a very generous trade. I had always wanted to review and document this model, but for that piece, I really wanted it to be the one that I was adding to my collection, so I was a little bit sad I broke that rule for myself, because I poured a lot of my heart and soul into that video, and I always thought, you know what, I'm going to want this guitar one day, aren't I, because it's the Spotlight reissue episode guitar. But now I don't have to worry about that, because I never even had to send it away. It just sat in a box for about a week or two. And even though the Spotlight reissues aren't my favorite, I definitely prefer the originals. The longer and longer you look at the wider center stripe, the more you do like them. And I just enjoyed playing this one. Now I don't have to be scared to get attached. I can enjoy it. And once again, thank you, Jay, for the very generous trade. I think this was his idea all along. He just wanted to string me along a little bit to document some Spotlights before he's like, hey, man, I enjoy your show. So do a lot of my friends. Here you go. Thank you. Making both of these guitars have more of a tail than they first started with before they made it to my hands. Well, we've got a couple of other packages to talk about tonight. Maxim, I'm sorry. This was not planned. He had reached out to me to see if he could send me something because he just likes watching the show so much. And on the back of it, he said, sorry, it's not a Zakk Wylde #1. Which, if you're not familiar, somebody did donate that to me that you can check out in this full episode right here. But I've been waiting for enough content to do another unboxing episode, and it just happened to fall here. And it's always nice to get messages and notes like this, because you gotta remember, from my perspective, you guys are all just numbers on a YouTube screen. I don't get to see your smiling faces or seeing how much your brain has grown with guitar knowledge as we document my fun journey on the show. But hey, this is actually really helpful. These are diamond posi-lock strap buttons. The way you can tell if these are vintage original or not is you want to look on the backside. If they have this diamond etching, the odds of them being legit are pretty good, but if they're flat, that's how you know it came from the modern ones. So the story on these is he had purchased an Adam Jones Les Paul Standard, one of the reissue ones, and somebody wanted vintage originals on it, but then when they sold it to him, he didn't really care. And this actually works out really well because I have a guitar that needs these. My Candy Apple Red Super Artist that we documented a few months ago. This was a really cool limited edition one-off that we actually got to interview the original owner of and why he spec'd it so crazily. That's a great episode and a fantastic addition. But he had a different strap system on this at one point, and the top strap button was no longer original. However, we still had the posi-lock down here, but now she's been beautifully restored in both positions. Thank you so much, Maxim. That came in real handy. Following that, I have a package from my Musician's Friend rep. Tonight's episode's not sponsored by Musician's Friend or Guitar Center, but I do have affiliate links to them now if you're buying something anyways and you want to help support the show at the same time. They just asked me around Christmas time, hey, what's something you need that's like $100? We want to send you something as an appreciation because I buy a lot of guitars from them. And I didn't want to say something disposable like strings, so I came up with this idea. I've never really done too much with the intonation of instruments, and that's mainly because I didn't have a really high quality strobe tuner. So I thought, hey, it's a little bit more than they wanted to spend on little old me, but they said, yeah, sure, we can make that happen. So I'll have to give this a try. If nothing else, I can use it to tune the instruments on my workbench a little bit easier. But the idea for this actually came when we were filming that Double Cut Les Paul Jr. episode. And there were some talks online about how do they intonate, how well do they not. I really needed something like this on that episode. But hey, now I got it. Thank you so much, Chad. And now our next box is very light. And if memory serves, this should be an eBay auction win. If not, I am missing a package. Nope, we're good. This was a very interesting piece of Gibson New Old Stock accessories thing to add to my collection. I think I paid like $20 for it. There are some guys who ask hundreds, and unless it's like a really, really cool item, I mean, to be fair, this one's really not in that great of shape. You can see it's seen some moisture, as well as some dings on the edges and slight delamination. But the important part to me is that the plastic on the front is okay. So this is circa late 90s, early 2000s. It's a string peg winder. You got a couple of picks, a creamy looking pump polish that I don't think I would use that even if I were to open this, because I doubt that has a 20-year shelf life. And then we just got one of those old-timey Gibson branded polishing cloths. Seeing stuff like this just makes me happy, because they don't make packaging that looks like that anymore. Perhaps not as cool as my 70s, 80s New Old Stock parts, but fits into the 90s until today collection. My favorite one of my collection still has to be this. It's a complete cream plastic conversion kit. You get both pickup rings, the switch tip, all the screws, pick guard, standard. Basically, take your studio and make it look like a standard. I think I paid like $100 for this one. That's really cool to me because all these parts have value. This one's more so just a novelty. But here's another orange backer I've got, one of the L jacks for like an SG. And then before we say goodbye tonight, we've got one more large package. Although, please don't get too excited. It's another accessory. It's a Generation 2 chainsaw case, and I can't tell you how happy I am when I see people list things correctly. Because Gen 1, when it comes to chainsaw, they don't have the back latch, but some people just think that refers to this style, and then Gen 2 is the larger molded plastic. That's not the case. This is Gen 3, because there's different generations within the first Asdel ones. There's other differences in between that, but I always pick one of these things up when it looks in relatively good condition. I think after a cleaning, this one shouldn't be too bad. All the latches are present and functioning. Now, unfortunately, it looks like this one had a lid ribbon at one point, but it's just snapped off. But thankfully, the hinges are still good. I'm a stickler for that. I hate when these get rusty, because you gotta be careful. Those things get in your fingers, and they hurt for days. But I bought this one earlier this year, and yeah, I'm gonna hold that back for something that needs a chainsaw case in the future, because that's a good one. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed the entertainment tonight. Thank you again to Jay Domino, Maxim, and Chad. You're all too kind. I truly appreciate your donations and kindness. And we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.